Nick and I went to college together. Over 4 years of college, we got to know each other really well, but really just friends. We both graduated. I moved to Portland to start my career at Nike, and he got drafted to the Eagles and kind of kept in touch. And I remember him saying, "I'd love to take you out sometime." And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess you'll have to come to Portland. I'm not going to go all the way over there."
Needless to say, God revealed our attraction for each other at the same time in a unique way that we weren't expecting. I just remember she got out of the car and I was like, she'll be the one I marry. I'm gonna marry her.
We had been dating for 6-7 months, and then we spent the season apart, and then he came back from the off season. And I remember at that point it kind of being a pivotal time, are we gonna do a whole nother year of this again? He left, and I remember I was so sad. It was maybe just a week later. I was at a concert with some friends, and I started to feel super sick, like I was gonna pass out. And then I kind of was like, all right, just sleep, see if I feel better tomorrow. And then Monday came around, and then I'm driving to work, and I felt the same feeling. And so I just immediately drove to the doctor, and I remember him looking at me like I was crazy, like I'm just a young, anxious woman that is freaking out and for no reason. In our society, there's a lot of health conditions that women get, and they are immediately written off as anxious or depressed or overreacting because nothing looks wrong with them. Things kept getting worse. I would wake up every morning vomiting, all of a sudden was dizzy all the time, could hardly stand up. I was like, what is going on? I ended up talking to my aunt, who was a PA for a neurologist. She was like, I think you have something called POTS. It's a form of dysautonomia, dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system, which kind of runs all the involuntary functions in your body that you don't have to think about, like blood pressure, heart rate, digestion, your eye blinking. I was relieved to have a diagnosis, but I was, what's next? I had to move home to live with my parents because I couldn't really function on my own in a city with no family. I mean, that fall was an excruciating process of everything that I knew being stripped and just trying to figure out what was the future going to be. My mom went to every single appointment with me. She never wavered in her, positivity and support of it all and learning about it and trying to help me. And obviously he was there for me in a big way, and he never wavered. Because obviously I had thoughts like, what's going to happen with us? This is a lot to take on for a partner.
About the same time she started feeling these symptoms was the same time that I called her family to ask for her hand in marriage. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I was going to be there every step of the way. It's one thing to think of someone when things are going well. It's like a team. Things are going well, everyone's happy. It's all right, when life is hard, which life will be hard, that's part of life, this is the person I want to go through it with.
He finished that season, we went to Mayo, we figured that out. He proposed while we were at Mayo. He flew my whole family out and surprised me and proposed. So, at that moment I knew that he was committed and not going anywhere.
Yeah, there was a day in the off season where Tori was doing a IV treatment that was a intense treatment. I had a buddy who was a pastor in Tucson come by. We're catching up, and he's like, well, dude, just go to the courthouse and get married. You can do a wedding some other day. I'm like, well, I got to talk to Tori. That sounds great. I would 100% do that. So she had sort of overheard the conversation while she was doing the IV treatment. I remember walking in, I'm about to have this conversation with her. She's like, let's do it. Let's get married. Let's go to the courthouse. We went online. We scheduled an appointment for following Wednesday. Unfortunately, on Monday, she got aseptic meningitis. And so she ended up in the ER that day.
So the treatment I was doing was experimental for POTS. There wasn't a whole lot of research on it. And it's called IVIG. They said, there's a 10% chance that you could come down with this reaction to the treatment, and it's called aseptic meningitis. So basically your brain like swells as if you have like an infection of meningitis, but you don't actually have the infection. But it's like the most massive pain in your head that you've ever felt in your life. You know, brings you to vomiting so you can't even see. Like I had to be rushed to the hospital, but it just took probably 24 hours to get me back to functioning. And then Tuesday came around and I was able to pull it together enough one day later to get married. We went to my dad's best friend's law offices and he married us, and it was just us and my parents there. And we were sitting down, obviously, because I couldn't stand again for very long, because I was still pretty weak because of what had happened the day before. I would have never gotten married that way by choice, but this was our reality. So we weren't gonna just wait 2 years just because we wanted to have a big wedding. It was like literally in sickness and in health, like saying our vows. We had been married a couple years. I started to get a lot better kind of as I went back to school to learn about more nutrition. I wanted to like just keep going and not be a victim of it and still do the things that we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to have kids, and in 2017 we had Lily. The pregnancy went okay. I mean, I was extremely sick for the first 20 weeks and everything. I think even without POTS, I probably would have been one that gets sick. My mom did, and a lot of women do. It's really difficult for sure, but it's something that I was committed to doing and knew it was possible and believed I could do it.
So we have Lily. We're in Philly. She's 7 months old at the Super Bowl time. Then we go back to Philly in 2018, and we're the backup quarterback in Philly after winning the Super Bowl. And then after that, we were free agents, and we decided to go to Jacksonville. I signed a franchise quarterback contract. I'm excited because this is my first like real time that a team's invested in me to go lead a franchise. So we moved there. Life is chaotic. We get pregnant with our second child.
So I'm still in the first part where I'm like really sick, just nauseous and so tired all day. We actually had friends in town, and I remember the day they came in, I kind of woke up with a sore throat. The next day, starting to feel pretty bad, getting fevers. So I went to the ER. So they're like, you have a virus, you know, keep taking Tylenol, keep the fever down, go home, rest. I went home that night and just started to feel worse. The fever started to get higher. And so overnight, my water broke and I started to like go into labor, and I'm only 15 weeks pregnant. I had miscarried and I had to go through a full delivery. It was this same exact pain as delivering at 40 weeks, full on labor. Turns out I had like streptococcal pneumonia, but in my bloodstreams. I was basically on my way to becoming septic. I wouldn't have gone back to the hospital again if it weren't for miscarrying. So that was kind of like an angel, like that baby saved me. It was a really dark time for us. You don't really know what it feels like till you go through it, but to lose a baby at any point in a pregnancy is very traumatic.
Going into it, like I had like this crazy vivid dream that like we had a baby boy. They take the child away, and I remember just asking them, what's the sex of the child? I remember they said it's a boy, and yeah, I think I lost it. Then we agreed that we would see the child, and the child was, you know, that big. And they bring it over, and I lost it again because it had my hands, my feet. It's weird to feel so just broken, but also a sense of peace.
There was a healing process that went along with it. You know, we were able to get pregnant again, and it was restoration for sure.
Life has gone on, but that child will always be a special part of the journey. When we had Duke, it was really, really special because of that. Having him has just been such a joy, and it's honestly tested us more than any other thing I've ever been tested with is Duke.
He's very unique.
He's very unique, but he brings a lot of joy and laughter.
When you just know how much he was meant to be here, like to have everything that happened, and he wouldn't be here otherwise. He's a force.
I had missed a practice during off-season training. I had just joined the Jaguars. Eventually I came back, and then you have to talk to the media. I shared openly that we had a miscarriage, and the thing that was so powerful that I didn't realize was that I had several individuals come to me privately after that. They had gone through that as well with their wife. It made me realize how important it is at times, to be honest and let people know, like, not everything's always like rosy and social media, Instagram worthy. Real life happens, and that's part of it. It's not like winning a Super Bowl. Not many people have won a Super Bowl. No one can relate to that. Everyone can relate to what we share. You realize it's hard along the way, and we'll have tough moments, and you just keep going, and you learn, and you grow, and then you're able to help someone along the way. I think the most important thing for us was the foundation of who we have been and where we began was our friendship. We were best friends, and without that, having kids and going through all the adversities would have been extremely difficult.
We just kind of figure it out as we go, which has kind of been the theme of everything for us, between kids and the illness, and everything year to year is up in the air with the business that he's in and moving. I think for me, with chronic illness, it's easy to feel guilt, like, oh, I'm not giving my kids enough in this area because I'm too tired. But I think it's important to know that for me, that God has me on a path with my kids that's special to me and us and to their life. And I believe them seeing me kind of persevere through these trials will help them.